and this was one of my least favorite drafts, and it's also one of your least favorite drafts, the Jacksonville Jags. So we take a look, and part of it is just, okay, they got some players. Some of these guys are good players, but the couple of reasons. One, they had a ton of draft picks. And with all the draft picks they had, I don't see one that I go, wow, that's the guy. That's my guy for this draft. That's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, all those picks, and I don't have one guy where I go, that's the guy. They stole this guy. Wow, that guy's going to be a sleeper. That guy's going to do this, that, or the other thing. I just didn't see it. And it looked like they even took guys sort of like Houston. All right, couple good players, but did they really need to draft him at that spot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you that, especially the back half of the draft. And again, you can't stress too much about 6th and 7th round picks, but that list of names, their last 5 picks, right? They just look like a bunch of guys, maybe not Parker Washington, starting with Braswell in the 6th and Eric Hallett from Pittsburgh, Cooper Hodges, Raymond Vohasek, Derek Parrish. That looks like a list of undrafted free agents to me. And there was a lot of value still on the board at that point. So every time they were making one of those late picks, I just said, man, I don't love this class. Okay, now I don't like it. Now I really don't like it. Just kind of kept getting worse and worse. The Anton Harrison pick, interesting there, that Dan Shanka, the president of our lads, he was in October. He told me, he goes, this guy's going to be one of the top tackles in the draft, 1st round pick. And I was like, okay, I always listen to him with offensive linemen. And even in that process, I always kind of kept him in the round 2 tier. So I wasn't really far off on him, and he definitely had an influence over me. But here we are, when his name came across, I kind of just said, he did it again. He just knows offensive line talent. He knows what the league is looking for. And Cam Robinson, he's going to have a PED suspension coming up. So I don't know how much that's going to affect the 2023 season, but he's going to miss games.
Okay.
And Jacksonville traded down twice and then took him. They traded down with the Giants, and then they traded down with the Bills. And they traded down because they knew that they were probably the only team that was really looking at him that high up in the draft. So
that's
that
okay then. I mean, I don't mind that. If that's the direction you're going to go, you're going to trade down and you still get the player you wanted. You didn't reach for him.
Absolutely. Yep. But the 2nd round pick is where I thought this draft kind of took a weird turn.
Yeah.
Brenton Strange in the 2nd round to me was just a head scratcher.
Who did he go ahead of? Tight ends.
Let me look at it real quick.
What pick was that? That was
the 61st pick. So that's towards the end of the second round.
So that's not too bad. There were a few. Musgrave, was Musgrave on the board?
Musgrave was off the board. I think Darnell Washington came after him, which I thought he would have been a perfect complement. Tucker Kraft went after him.
Yeah.
Cameron Latou, the Alabama. I mean, that guy was in the same tier, Strange for me. So the question here is, Washington's the big one, especially for what they were looking to add to that team in combination with Evan Engram. But here's the question, right? And I always say, do you view a reach as, hey, he's not going to be there at our next pick?
Yeah.
Or do you view a reach as, hey, the big boards say we shouldn't be picking him there, right? Because they don't care about media big boards, and they shouldn't. But to me, it's just, what is Brenton Strange bringing to this team? Why do you think you weren't going to get him or a player like him in rounds 4 or 5?
Yes.
And why would you not use this premium resource? A 61st overall pick in a draft to me is a premium resource.
Yes.
And to use that on a tight end that value-wise, I think you get that, and later in the draft, it was a head-scratcher.
Well, you pick a guy like that there, and Peterson and the tight ends, this guy's got to deliver. So you don't see it? Or, I mean, could he have been brought down by Penn State's erratic passing game?
I just think just the size, the skill set. I mean, I love him as a blocker on the move. I wrote this guy up as someone that you want on your team as a move tight end, as a blocking tight end that you could put in the backfield. And, to me, this team, Evan Engram, that's what he is. He's the guy that you're going to put in the slot. So are you really going to put this guy in line down after down? I mean, maybe you are. He's a competitive kid. He's strong. He's powerful. But size-wise, I don't think he has it. I don't think he runs great routes. I don't think he was a reliable pass catcher in the red zone and, 3rd and short type situations, but he's not someone that's going to constantly run himself open. So I just kind of question the usage of is he really a blocking tight end? And did you really want that in the second round?
Okay. Let's see. We also thought that what they could have, as far as what we projected that they needed, and they got with Harrison.
Sorry.
Because of the fact that they could have used a swing tackle, so they got added that. We thought that they needed to add a left guard, which they did not do. So with all of their draft picks, like the Colts, with all of their draft picks, they're all in on Barch. Do you think if Robinson and Harrison are healthy, will one of them move inside?
I don't see it. I do not see a guard skill set in Harrison. So
they're going to have to, right now it's Barch.
No. Yeah, it's going to be Barch, and that's got to scare you a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand that with all these picks. And then we thought that they could use some depth on the defensive line, and they did add a few players there, including Tyler Lacey. What did you think about Lacey?
Lacey kind of is a back end of the roster, kind of like your number 4, number 5 tight end. He's better at edge setting than he is pass rushing. So, that's important for this defensive front with the way they run things and with the talent that they have. So I think he complements what they have pretty well.
Okay. And Miller, that's a high pick in the 4th round. Ventrell Miller at linebacker. They did a really good job at linebacker last year. I didn't think they had to use up another quality draft pick on a linebacker. Why?
Yeah, they run 3 deep already there, and so you're just adding a 4th linebacker to a team that pretty much only ruses 2 linebackers at a time, and the 2 guys that are in front of them, they're not going anywhere. I think the 3 guys in front of them aren't going anywhere. So really, what are you doing here? Was it just someone that you valued so much? A special teamer, I guess. Round 4, it's not that high, but again, just like I said earlier, round 4, there's a lot of good talent in that draft every single year. Round 4, and not that he's a bad player or a bad fit. It's just, sometimes you see the Jaguars draft over the years, and you're saying, all right, what is the plan here? What are we actually trying to do with the draft? Some teams do that much better than others. And to me, that just seemed like a guy that they thought was good. Let's just get him in the system.
At the 4th round, you've got to add more offensive linemen.
Yeah, and there was talent there. There was especially with all the picks that they had, they could have moved up if they wanted to. That's why I didn't like the draft. I just thought they could have walked away with a much better haul of players that currently fit the needs on that team.
Yeah, and Parker Washington, again, like you said, no matter where, 6th round, 7th round, undrafted, fact is, at best, maybe you can get to be a number 4 wide receiver. I guess that's possible.
Yep.
And then they also added, now Bigsby is going to be an interesting pickup because, Hasty was doing a pretty decent job of filling in for Etienne whenever he did. And they added Johnson, too, from Cleveland in free agency. And he had his chance a couple of years ago. He did a pretty good job. So they have definitely improved the running back room without question. And this guy is a big talent upgrade from Hasty. So I'm not going to I don't have any issues with adding a player like that. But again, to tell you the truth, I'd rather have an offensive lineman than to have a really good number 2 when Etienne is basically the workhorse. But again, look, it's a good player.
Yeah, good player. I'm a big Bigsby guy, and Etienne is not someone that you want to be getting 25 touches to all season long. So I had no problem with that pick. I had no problem with the Antonio Johnson pick in the 5th round. I thought that was actually a solid pick up there.
That was probably their best bargain pick of the draft.
Yeah, I like Yasir Dubla, so I'm not saying that this is not a total fail here, but we're going to keep circling back to the same argument. What were they doing in the 2nd round was strange, and why did they not add that interior offensive lineman with multiple opportunities at doing so?
If you're a Jaguar fan listening to this, I am going to get the opportunity to talk Jacksonville Jaguars football, so we'll do that at some point. We have a good group of insiders that are associated with the channel, and John Osher does a really good job for He's actually the only guy that we have as far as our insider group that is associated with the team. So he's the editor of Jags.com, and we'll definitely have him on. And when we have him on, I will ask these questions. So, all right. By the way, before we exit, was there a undrafted free agent besides maybe 1 or 2 of them that we already talked about?
Leonard Taylor's a tight end. from Cincinnati that kind of just jumped off the screen a few times when I was scouting the receiving tight end Josh Wiley. Just height, weight, speed, blocking, good inline blocker. If they're not happy with what they have in line with Luke Farrell and Brenton Strange as an inline guy, I think he's got a shot.